thing about AI is that you can't just ask it a question and take the answer. You have to engage with it, push it, challenge it, have it challenge you. And that's when you really open it up as a tool. Um, One, just on an aside, one thing that's been fascinating to me is to have ask AI to analyze my own poetry.
Mhm.
And it reveals, oh, well, you're doing, I kind of thought I was doing that, but I guess I really am. Um, and it's been very interesting from that point of view too, to
Bob, may I
what we
ask
dug in.
what AI apps you use? What are your
I use mostly
favorites?
Chat GPT.
Okay, are you on the
And
higher level?
yeah,
Okay.
and I experiment with Claude.
Okay. Cheryl, what do you use?
I use ChatGPT.
Okay. And you know my Sylvia's ChatGPT. Trevor, what are you using?
When I've used it, I've used chat myself. Yeah.
Okay. I know some people who do comparisons. They use Chat and Claude or Gemini and they
Yeah.
see what the answers are and go back and forth. These are not poets. These are some of them are people in the legal profession and businesses, and they want to
Mhm.
see additive and what matches and what's higher or lower, what's more better or what's less better and what's true. So you're looking for some getting away from we used to call them hallucinations, and now I think they just call it AI slop, right? Okay.
Yeah.
I think it's time for me to pull up the slideshow. And just to give the audience, we do have some people watching live, which is always gratifying. We're going to see the poems from these three esteemed these versers, I'll call them my diverser versers, and they're going to narrate their own poetry. So let me go and get this share here. I want to welcome Jordan is in the background. Hello, Jordan. I know you're a little late, but we're happy to see you here. And Jordan is another engineer, and we're going to bring this slideshow up. And here we go. Can you all see this? Yes?
Mm.
Okay, I'm just going to go through. So we're welcoming Bob, and then we're welcoming Cheryl, and then we're welcoming Trevor. See, the slide didn't work for some and it didn't for others. So we're going to start off with you, Bob. I'm putting this on the screen. Everybody can see it now. And why don't you take us through Weekender? And it's two slides. It's a long one. So I will scroll when you get down to the last line on this page. Bob, please.
Well, in the spirit of Cheryl, I'll say that this is my favorite poem because it's my most recent, which is always my favorite poem. Uh, a few weeks ago, I woke up at 5 with lines running through my head, and I had an early day that day. So, Weekender, banging on a steel door, he's pretty sure they don't answer right away on purpose. Outside of Orange County, Maine jail, he bangs again, and it opens a bit. The guard makes him say it. I'm here for the weekend. Let me in just can't quite pass his lips. Weekenders wear their own clothes. 12 strangers without belts in a plain room waiting. He was the kid at 18, so they took care of him. One taught him checkers, stay on the main diagonal, was a champion once. One just slept. He drank coffee for the first time. Saturday morning, enough evaporated milk and it went warm and comfortable down his throat. The cup felt good in his hands. He listened to the older men. Most were in for child support, broken leg, lose job, get drunk, lose job. Exes turned them in, get sick, lose job. Exes turned them in. No welfare if the ex doesn't sign the charge papers. Everybody did what they did to keep on. And the one guy just slept the whole weekend. Good planning, whatever he took, it worked a charm. Out at 6 on Sunday, it was a 5-hour hitchhike home to Eagle Rock. He got that one long ride you need. His girlfriend wasn't really waiting for him, not the way he'd figured. The door was locked. He knocked over a flower pot, searching for the hidden key. He quickly learned about headaches and a cold back on the bed, so he lay quiet, careful not to disturb her. He followed the shadows from the window pane that the moon shifted over the stained walls. He wondered about the men from jail. and the women they went home to or didn't. He imagined a woman waiting, one hand in her hair, no folded arms.
Thank you, Bob. What inspired this?
Uh, I'll go out on a limb and say I had a little bit of a wayward youth and it came from my experiences.
They say write what you know about, right?
Yep, but it was 55, 60 years ago. I don't know why it woke up in my head that morning.
Isn't that interesting? The thoughts that creep in sometimes in dreams and all
Yep.
kinds of things. Interesting. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. And let's go to Cheryl's first. Whoops, Cheryl, there you are, her future self. Cheryl, welcome.
Her future self. I wish my daughter could see herself at 50, kids grown, graduated, married, children of her own. I'm still around. This is not far off. Trips to urgent care in the dark of the night, in the bright of day, and everywhere in between. Popsicles, teething, lice, bedbugs, pinworms, dirt to dig in, mud to play in, flowers to pot, tomatoes, potatoes, carrots in the backyard garden. The magnolia tree in front of the house is bigger than the house now. We'll push strollers. The girls will love their husbands and we'll roll our eyes and laugh when they're not looking. Many dramas will be reenacted. Fireflies in jars on the porch. Yoga in the afternoon, stretching and lollygagging. Rushing in to cook dinner, dishes piled high, baths drawn and books read, foreheads kissed, little bodies tucked in, just awake and do it all again.
What inspired this, Cheryl?
I'm actually visiting my daughter now and my granddaughters, and they just that thought that, we're going to be doing this with them and their little ones. It just the continuum of life and having children and what the day brings, the everyday, just, getting through the day, just the things in the garden, the tree in the front yard that keeps growing. This huge magnolia in Western Kentucky just takes up the yard. So
I have to tell you, I bought this house in Tennessee 3 years ago, a little over 3 years ago, and there is a huge magnolia in the yard. And I've been told that the former owner, who's apparently family owned a nursery, should never have planted it in the middle of the yard because the leaves are like frisbees that are 1.5 feet long and they just go everywhere. Anyway, it's quite a beautiful tree and I get a few blooms, but I'm too short, so I have to have somebody on a ladder go up and get me some. Very interesting. Thank you very much. I'm not going to ask for responses unless anybody wants to say anything. Trevor or Bob, we have time. So anybody want to comment on this? Anything resonate with you? I know you're not a daughter of anybody, but Trevor, looks like you want to say something.
No
No,
comments
no.
particularly.
Bob, please.
Well, Cheryl, I think voices all of us with parent who have children and grandchildren. We spend a certain portion of our life imagining and projecting and thinking about where they're going and just wanting all the best for them.
Wanting all the best for them. Yes. Yes. This would be an idealization, and I would roll our eyes and laugh when they're not looking. Yes, we'd love
Yeah.
for our kids, our grandkids, to have the opportunity and the ability to laugh in their life, wouldn't we, Cheryl? I like that. I
yes.
like that a lot.
My daughter's
Trev?
never rolled her eyes at me.
Oh, my kids roll their eyes at me all the time. Mother, you're on TV. Mother, you have a podcast. Mother, you're live streaming. Mother, you're a poet. Mother, you're an artist. Oh, yeah, I get a lot of, but they respect and love me anyway. Trevor, you are up, and because these are short, I'm giving you a twofer for you. So, which one would you like to read first, Trevor? And it's all
I'll
yours.
start in the order they're here. Sad Lori,
Okay.
I'll start
Okay.
with here.
Please.
This town ain't got no theater and no culture. So did say sad-eyed Lori, black-haired Lori, on the swivel chair of day. Sitting on the fountain steps, a smoke ring in her hand, laughing Lori, wandering Lori, waved her finger like a wand. She stole each song to make her own and make the virgins weep. Then coal-eyed Lori, sapphire Lori, walked into the street.
Mm. Mm, I think we're all just
Uh,
taking a deep breath there, Trevor. The one line that got me, the first one that got me is was a swivel chair of day. How did you come up with that?
I don't know. It's one of those interesting things about writing poetry. Sometimes a phrase and it's after the fact you say, that's pretty good. I'm not even quite sure what it means, but I like it.
That's
Um,
that's almost iconic. There's a picture there. It's a picture phrase. Beautiful, beautiful.
yeah,
Oh,
and I'll just say this particular poem, actually, I sort of wrote and I found it among my notes going back many years ago. And it occurred in Rome. I was there, and I sort of remember this young woman who just seemed kind of lost somehow, and didn't seem to be really enjoying even being in Rome. And so I wrote this poem, and then I rediscovered it again when I was going through some notes a year ago. So
the last line to me is foreboding, forbidding, cliffhanger. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
We want to know what was in
What
the
up?
street. Why, right?
Yeah.
What up? Bob, any thoughts about this one?
Uh, the one I like is smoke ring in her hand.
Mm,
You take a common phrase and just move it a little. Very nice. And I like the ending also. That, you know, I hope she found a place with a lot more culture for her.
mm, yeah.
Cheryl, any thoughts on this?
Yeah, I'd say the same. Waved her finger like a wand stood out to me, just sort of that attitude, and agree with the ending. That's just it's foreboding.
Yeah. Lovely, Trevor. Sad and lovely, but very well done. You've painted a life in just a few lines. Very interesting. And you painted a lot of our own lives too in here. A lot of things. The
But
swivel chair of day. Go ahead, Trevor.
So the next poem is George's Hotel, and it's kind of a personal poem about someone I met many years ago in Athens, and was back in Athens some years later, and afterwards I wrote this poem. Dominique, where are you? Even now, past many years, Attica's moon silhouettes your slender body, racing over rain-kissed stones to the hotel's marble steps, to the oak stairwell and the hallway floor. Fingers of light pierce the faded curtains, caress our naked bodies, far from prying eyes, far from the slipping night, until the morning ship took you to Paros, and I to where? I returned today to George's, or rather to where it was, the stairway now an elevator leading to the sterile offices of brokers and lawyers. All was gone, as were you.
Hmm. Nostalgia, sweet, bittersweet. Trevor, oh, was it really her name really Dominique? I'm not sure what to ask you
That
here.
actually was her name. She was French, yeah, and so it's one of the poem that Bob wrote. Was reading earlier reminded me of the fact that things never really disappear in your memory. Sometimes they come back even more boldly years later, and so you images and memories and everything of people and places, and so this was a particular one.
Our minds are a vault, aren't they? Sometimes we don't know the key to open to the vault, and sometimes a dream or a thought or a person or a smell, a scent, a flower,
Mhm.
a bird, a person talking to us, a name just opens that vault. Cheryl, Bob, any thoughts?
I like the way in the third line the moon silhouettes your slender body. You open the door for what you reveal later. You're setting us up for it. Very nice.
Yep.
Mhm.
Cheryl? Hmm.
The fingers of light pierce the faded curtains. Just all of the imagery throughout was beautiful.
Very
Oh,
beautiful,
thank you.
Trevor. Thank you. Thank you very much. And sad that, yeah, stairwell, elevator, sterile offices, sterile was the word, gone. Yep, as were you. Thank you for sharing that memory. Bob, we're up to where you find it. It's all yours. Go ahead.
Where you find it.
Mhm.
I bought a buck knife at Walmart. The blades are sharp, but the magic of the knife is in a swirl in the walnut handle. right where my thumb goes when I hold it. My eyes, my thumb, my mind go down that swirl. It's not a Walmart knife anymore. The monk met the hikers on the Nepalese mountain trail. Sharing food and water and stumbled word and hand signs, they settle on a love for chanting. The older hiker begins to sing, row, row, row your boat. As they explained the words, the monk thought it was the most marvelous chant to ever move through him. They sang it in a round and blew his mind. Early in the elementary school pickup line, Diane's lonely, the first and only, as thousands of small dark birds spin and twirl over the field beside the school. Approaching her, they lay a living blanket of feathered bodies across the car. Later, leaving the dollar store, she startles a bird. Just as it takes flight, another darts up. For 10 feet, they fly in a perfect formation of two, then break, going their separate ways. It stops her. She stands immobile in the parking lot, remembering the earlier murmurs of bodies and wings upon the car surrounding her. Only one of the cars she stopped honked at the woman standing with bags dangling from her arms and a grin on her face.
Mm. The line that caught me in the first half, Bob, was
Yeah.
the monk thought it was the most marvelous chant to ever move through him. Not move him, move through him. That told me more. That motion, that consuming, that going right into him and impacting him. Was that the thought by using the word through in there?
Oh, absolutely. Chanting is something that moves through you, not from you.
Or just not moves you?
So,
Okay.
yeah, yeah.
Thank you. A very different picture there. Trevor, anything?
Bob, I love some of the imagery you have in not just this poem, but the one earlier. But what I really liked about this is inserting row, row, row your boat into it. Yeah, it just was a wonderful touch because we're suddenly taken back to this kid's song, and that was a nice change of pace in a way. The blanket of feathered bodies across the car, just another bit of imagery that really jumped out for me immediately.
Thank
Cheryl?
you.
Go ahead, Bob.
It struck me decades ago how zen-like the song "Row, Row, Row Your Boat" really is,
Hmm.
and I've actually been struggling for decades to figure out how to work it into a poem.
Mm.
You
Uh,
did beautifully.
so
Mhm.
Beautiful. And it's a surprise, isn't it? It stops you because we're all thinking, row, row, row your boat gently. What in the heck is that doing here on hikers and a monk in Nepal? And there you go. You just dropped it in and it moved right through him. Very nice, Bob. Cheryl, thoughts?
Yeah, I like how the poem weaves through time. I always love when a poem, because I think the poems that we've been reading are woven in time or timelessness. And then the mentions of Walmart, the dollar store, the parking lot, the Nepalese mountain trail. I really enjoyed that. The murmurs, reminded me of a murmur of, is it crows? It's a murmur. Anyway, a
Mhm.
group of
Mhm.
birds. So it's just beautiful to look at, listen to. Thank you.
And
thank you.
Bob, what also gets me is the last couple of lines. The woman standing with bags dangling from her arms and a grin on her face. You just dropped that in there and everything stopped. And you brought it back to beautiful. Very, very nice. Thank you for that. Let's go on. Cheryl is next. Drink the rain. Cheryl, you're up.
Drink the rain. It's the end of February. My friend calls to tell me the daffodils are coming up against the house. I want to tell them, go back, go back. We both have a good laugh because, yeah, they're just going to push on through the snow. I push back the curtains. No color in the sky, weak sun. Outside, it looks like a faded black and white photograph. Next to the fence, I see a clump of flame grass, light amber, the only color choice in February. Little white, silken, fuzzy heads blow hard against a cold wind. Tenacious daffodils. Me, I'm not so sure. I feel gray and weak like the sun. We talk on the phone a while, coffee in hand. Upstairs, I dress for the day. In my mind, I see daffodils snuggled up against a warm brick house, worms underneath. I long to see reds and blues, oranges and purples. Liver up, I tell myself. The worm moon is coming. Worms bring robins, robins bring spring. I make dandelion tea, chug a few milk thistle capsules. Soon the world will be all color again. I'll be ready to dig my hands in the dirt, smell the worms, tilt back my head, drink the rain.
Talk about imagery.
Mm.
Cheryl, this is just absolutely packed. There's so much to think about. I love to start with the good laugh. And by the way, even in March here in my part of Tennessee near Knoxville, it went from 26 or 16 degrees Fahrenheit some nights to 75 to 80 the next morning, the next afternoon, and then back. And I was yelling at the bulbs, go back, because a few daffodils had already come up. And I was telling them, it's too soon. You're going to get hurt. So I identified this seasonally. Bob, thoughts?
I was just so caught up in the very first stanza about
Mhm.
a narrator telling the flowers to go back and wondering what in this narrator's life she's trying to keep back.
Hmm.
Uh, what is she pushing back? What, it, it opened up a whole lot of windows for me to look at the rest of the poem in.
Thank you. Trevor?
I love this poem. The imagery, but also the idea that there's this conversation, a literal conversation going on with nature. She's speaking to the daffodils, and throughout there's like she's talking back and forth with them, and that's a wonderful way of thinking about your our relationship to nature. I really quite like this.
And Cheryl, I see three times, four times, three times the worms are mentioned. I thought that was very, very interesting. Worms stir underneath. Worms bring robins. Smell the worms. Any thought on that? That's an interesting thing to the flowers. It's earthy, it's earthbound, it's dirty, it's wriggly. Where did the worms come in your mind?
Yeah, it's to me, it's that underneath the create, there's all this going on underneath, right? Underneath the creativity, underneath the psyche, underneath the maybe what's going back, it's all there's a lot going on underneath. So that's, to me, the worms represent the underworld and
Nice.
creativity.
And the dandelion tea, you got that in there too, and the milk thistle capsules. Very, very beautifully done. Trevor, let's go. We've got a three part here for you. These are very short. I'm giving you three. So go ahead, regale us, Trevor.
Sure. Poem. The stout wooden ship, snuggled in its home, gently rolled against the wharf, tethered not to roam. I asked, "What is your chosen name?" It said, "I am the poem, an elegy for restless sailors anchored safe at home."
Wow.
Mm.
S- Seen on a morning walk. The scuttled crab sought to unwind back to its sheltering pond, but a seagull grabbed the crab and dined in the weltering sky beyond. And see the youth in flight. See the youth in flight, his past forgotten, the present scarce clinging to his wings, his eyes transfixed, the evanescent trail evaporating like rain against the sun.
Oh,
I can describe each of these just very briefly here.
Go ahead.
Literally, poem is it was the name of a boat, uh, a sailing ship I saw small when I saw in Victoria Harbor when I was out there last spring. I was walking along the wharf and I saw this, and I actually took a picture of it. Probably should have included the picture in the book. But anyway, that's where it came from, and I just thought how wonderful the idea of a boat that actually is named Poem. Anyway,
Lovely.
seen on a morning walk again is literally I was walking along a park area here in Lethbridge, Alberta, and I saw this crab tiny little crab on the sidewalk. And I looked away for one moment and I turned back and a seagull had grabbed it and taken it off. And finally, the third one actually, and it's 4K, which my son's name is Keenan. And
Mhm.
this is kind of a reminiscence of him as a youth. Probably I wrote this when he was about 14 or 15, and what a wonderful athlete he was. And just watching him, he's coming into his own body and enjoying his own physical presence. And so I thought the idea of him almost like a Greek god of some sort doing these things, with wings and flying against the sun. So
Lovely. Bob, any thoughts on any or all?
Oh, I just like them. I like the length. I like the you know it I've been thinking a lot. My poems the last few years have gotten very narrative, and this kind of helps inspire me to take them back toward the lyrical. So thank you.
Inspired. Okay. Cheryl,
Yeah.
thoughts?
Yeah, I think they just each one has this a moment to it, or there's all this imagery, but also these encapsulated moments, and I really like that.
And Trevor, I appreciate the humor in the crab and the seagull. I giggled when I heard that one. And I find humor in the poem one. What is your chosen name? The ship said, I am the poem. I found that amusing, and then you explained it really was. I wasn't sure where you were going with that. So that was intriguing. Thank you, Trevor. Beautiful. Let's go on. Bob, talk about lyrical and big poems. It's your turn again. Go ahead, Bob Gossom.
Okay. A good fit. The hand grazed my shoulder, my chest, my hip. A professional touch, reassuring, as I stood uncomfortable, exposed, not used to being examined by strangers. A good fit, he said, as he subtly felt the waistline, and his associate handed him a bit of soap to mark the hem. The suited figure in the mirror is not me. I'm draped over the chair, set aside, soft, warm, comfortable, smelling of the LA sun hitting the chaparral, evaporating the dew and holding the first traces of scent as the sage and manzanita open to the dawn's early heat. The cool air and all it contains held down by the sunrise for the briefest moment in an odd counterpoint to the same kind of inversion layer that later presses the afternoon smog into my clothes on the chair. The selves of me in the mirror seem much too public. But they are me, dressed. A good fit, it seems, but what do I know of fine wool, worsted or tweed, gabardine, super S with pleats, please? Parading my suited self in the city and through the beltways, will I still be a good fit? Moving me to stand on a stool, the tailor's eyes constantly read me. His job to question the fit. His eyes and soft hands direct my vision to where my pants, trousers to him, touch the top of my borrowed shoes. A break, he asks? Yes, please.
Wow. I'm wondering why he is there, what the purpose is. Is he getting married? Is he going to prom? Is he the father of the bride? Is he accepting an award? Why the trip to the tailor? And I love the part, I'm draped over the chair, set aside, soft, warm, comfortable. Beautiful, Bob. Cheryl, Trevor, thoughts?
Well, I'm inspired to write about clothing now. I think that's I really like the piece about getting the suit fitted, or to me maybe wearing a fancy dress, and then that piece of, oh, but what's really me is this over here. Anyway, it's beautiful.
Thank you, Trevor.
there's a a fairly well-known sociologist years ago by name of Irving Goffman, who talked about having a backstage self and a front stage self, taking literally the idea of being in a theater. And what this poem suddenly comes to me is the uneasiness of the front stage self that one has, putting on these clothes, looking, wearing this fine suit, the uneasy fit, the not so good fit with who your backstage self is. And so that kept coming across to me as Bob was reading this, is the many selves we have, and in fact use the term here, that which is the real self that I'm putting forwards that people are looking at in this suit that I'm putting on for now.
Thank you. And Bob, one more that got me. A break, he asks. Yes, please. I don't know if it was the break of the
Yeah.
pants against the top of the
Yeah.
shoes
Yeah.
or let me out of here.
Yeah. We've all been there.
Bob, place and time. Did you have in mind any of the categories of roles that I mentioned when I
Oh,
started?
yeah, all of that. Again, it came from an experience. I was visiting my sister who lived in Hong Kong, and they said, "Oh, you have to go get a custom-made suit." And so I went to the tailor, and I had this strange experience of having these people put their hands all over me, and but I was also I was a young man, and I was thinking, well, what am I going to wear the suit to a job interview? Well, do I want a job where I have to wear a suit? Or, who is this person now that is going to be wearing suits? Am I going to be a good fit in this new environment? But then you get kind of intrigued by the detail. Oh, yes, gabardine. Oh, that pleats are nice. Um,
And today, not too
again,
many jobs need suits. Go ahead, Bob.
well, at the time, it was a rite of passage a
Of
little bit.
course it was. Of course. I dressed up for work every day in the corporate world, high heels and a suit and makeup and proper jewelry and the whole thing.
If we ever meet you in the grocery store, we expect the big rose.
Always. I'm the one in the black dress and the red suede drummer boots and the red, absolutely. But I was once chastised in a corporate job. I won't tell you, but I was working for one of the big major banks downtown New York in marketing, and I was told that I didn't fit in because the other women who were all higher level managers than I was, they were wearing $5,000 suits to work, and I had the audacity to take a silk scarf and wrap it around my hair and make a bow here. And I was told that didn't fit with the corporate. I never saw clients, I never saw customers, I never left the office. This was in a very famous building downtown near the
Wow.
World Trade Center, but I won't tell you more. And I was told that I needed to be counseled by HR on how to dress for success because they didn't. And I also had Cheryl. I had a couple of little rhinestones on my suit jacket here, and they told me that was inappropriate. And my boss was a man who couldn't keep his shirt quite tucked into his pants, and he was a mess. But he was the one who told me you have to learn to dress better. And I didn't stay too long after that. Okay, let's go to the
Uh,
next one and
I,
get me.
I
Yeah,
will say that story surprises none of us.
touche. I like you too. Cheryl, rescue me. It's time for mid, and we may go over on time. Can you all stay a little past the top
Oh
of the
yeah.
hour? I hope,
Yeah.
because I didn't intend to turn this into a conversation, but I'm loving where this is going. The comments, and we've become a community of feedback, and let's just keep going. So, Cheryl, Midsummer, you're up, dear.
Midsummer. Spring came reluctantly this year, but she made it. And now here we are in midsummer. Bergamot blooming, periwinkle blue, firecracker red bee balm next to colorful zinnias, as though you didn't plan it or plant it, as though they just follow you around and bloom as you nod to each one. Oh, you coy flower lady. Purple vincas wink as you walk by. Daisies wave hello. Cornflowers bow. Bachelor buttons wish you were theirs. We sit on the front porch as the lantern moon rose high, playing wine games, talking smart, blowing smoke, loving into laughter, while the thick night air wraps us up in its arms, reveling in memories and stories only we know.
This is a glossary of colors, Cheryl. It's absolutely beautiful. I just want to be here. I'm smiling. Bob, Trevor, what were your thoughts?
Well, once again, the imagery that you used here, Cheryl, much like in the previous poem, I just leaps off the page, and there's a sense for me again of a real conversation with nature. This thing, spring came reluctantly this year. It's like you're having conversation. Where did you go? How come you're out of time here or something? It's a wonderful descriptive poem, and finishing off with just this kind of sitting back on a porch and the laughter, the wine, etc. Very, very nice imagery.
Bob?
Well, it's hard not to love a poem with the word periwinkle in it. Uh, uh, and actually, when she started to list some of the things, my own sensibility, I began thinking of Whitman listing and listing and listing. She,
Mm.
in my sensibility, she dipped into that and came back very quickly. But I love the line "playing wine games," and it goes back to I think something of some of the others where it's a simple image holding a glass of wine, but how do you describe it in 3 words in a new way? That kind of putting together of words and images to make us look at something very different. And it opens all these windows, wine games. There's so many games you could connect to wine. I just love it when 3 words can make my mind kind of bloom.
Mhm.
So thank you.
Thank you. And Cheryl, I have to tell you, it brings back memories of something kind of silly. I was on WGBB AM 1240, which was one of the oldest AM radio stations on Long Island, New York. And I had several shows, Monday, Thursday, Friday, blah, blah, blah. But I used to do a fake weather girl report. I will not get into the details because never mind. But my engineer used to describe what I looked like because this was real radio. This was real radio. So he would say, Bonnie has, what did he say? Bee stung lips and ocean blue eyes, and she's wearing fishnet stockings. And we'll just leave it at that. Okay. And I certainly wasn't, but I did. So you brought back the firecracker red bee bomb brought that memory just galloping back. Thank you for that very much. I love the loving into laughter in this, the
Mhm.
fourth to last line. That says so much to me. Talking smart, wine games, blowing smoke, but loving into laughter, not loving the laughter or loving a laugh, loving into laughter. That just opens up a whole world of images to me and people and possibilities and relationships. Bob, you want to say something? Go.
Oh, I was just giving a thumbs up to that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a wonderful line.
Yeah.
Wonderful line. Sometimes the brevity, yes, Shakespeare, brevity is the something about wit. Yes, the brevity. Cheryl, beautifully done. Let's go to Trevor. This is Trevor's longest one for the day. Trevor, and this has a backstory, so please tell us.
Yeah, it starts actually just from a quote from, I guess, Anthony Bourdain's final interview. The poem is called Bourdain. To sit alone or with a few friends, half drunk under a full moon, you just understand how lucky you are. It's a story you can't tell. It's a story you almost by definition can't share. I've learned in real time to look at those things and realize I just had a really good moment. So I start off, as I said, with this quote from Anthony Bourdain, and then I
Hmm.
wrote this poem over 2 or 3 days that I worked on it. Hanoi to Hong Kong, Barcelona to Berlin. The long road stretched forever, but not home. He told others' tales, but not his own. No subterranean city depths ran so silent deep as the demon fears and loneliness that stalked his wake and sleep. No fine cuisine of lobster crepe or coq au vin or slow-baked sole could satiate or give escape or fill the gaping hole. No bourbon, weed, or wine could drown his silent fears, could scurry off the Paris night of pained and haunted tears.
Hmm. Hmm. So sad, so tragic, so scary, such a shock to all of those of us who followed him and enjoyed his joie de vivre, we thought, right, Trevor? His love of life, his love of food, his love of conversation about food with people around the world. And then silence. This really hit me hard. Bob, Cheryl, thoughts?
I don't have a direct experience with Anthony Bourdain. I know of him, so um, but what you know, the counterpoint that somebody can both be full of life and filled with despair is something we need to always keep in our mind when we look at the world, look at the people we know. Um, but on a technical level, it's nice to hear some good rhyming every now and then. So thank you.
Cheryl, thoughts?
Yeah, that second stanza with the no subterranean city depths ran so silent deep, just sort of that depth of, what Bob was talking about, the juxtaposition of a life, full of food and, just that fullness, and then also the emptiness, the stark difference.
Thank you.
Really well put in this poem.
Trevor, I have a question.
Mm.
The Paris night of pained and haunted tears. What is it about Paris that you added that to the phrase?
Well, that's actually where he died.
Oh, okay.
Uh,
I didn't
so,
remember that. I didn't know.
but yeah, one of the things about celebrity culture, and I'm not terribly wrapped up in it. Celebrities come and go. Definition of celebrity: someone is famous for being famous. So I'm not terribly enraptured with a lot of people who are celebrities, but one of the things about celebrity culture is we start to think that we actually know somebody that we're never going to meet, and we really can't ever know them. But Bourdain did strike me as a genuinely interesting person who was interested in other people in his travels. And so he was one of those people I thought I would have liked to have sat down and had a beer or a glass of wine with him. And so when suddenly he's dead, suicides, it just seemed incredibly a tragic event. So
And it was so public because, Bob, those of us who watched him on TV for years appreciated the bonhomie, if that's a word, and the
Yeah.
aliveness of him
mhm,
talking to people about food and going into kitchens and restaurants all over the
mhm,
world and having, Trevor, having that beer with famous people, we know
yeah,
who, and talking to them about their favorite food and diving into what cuisine was and what it meant and how it was constructed. He was just there, and
yeah,
then he was not there. And it
yes.
was, I think people took it on shall we say, a celebrity-based personal level, if I can.
Yeah. I mean, he just sort of exuded a kind of humanity. And so
Yes.
again, you felt like he was somebody who was in
Yeah.
your home. And
Yeah.
yeah, so it was a shock to a lot
Absolutely.
of people.
Yes. Well, thank you. I don't usually put very sad poems into this, but I couldn't stay away from this one because it was so beautifully written. So thank you. And let's go to Bob. We've got a lot more to go here. Bob, while I
Oh,
wait, go ahead.
oh, okay. I vacuum my rugs so your feet won't get dusty. I bleach my sink so the food will be wholesome. I straighten the debris of this home to please your eye. You, you see, I want to be ready. I wax the floor, clean the seat cushions, deposit the spiders outside, answer the mail. There's no dirty laundry. The bed is made. Of course, the sheets are clean. I want to turn down the covers, but no, this is much too leading. The handprints on the wall are gone. The dirt on top of the ceiling lights eluded me for a while. If I can't go and find you, at least I can be ready for when you choose to appear. Be productive while I wait. The front porch is swept. The dandelions in the lawn were tough, but I handled them. The curb was stained with exhaust fumes that couldn't be cleaned. Working with the sledgehammer was therapeutic, and now I know how to pour concrete. All the neighbors are pleased. The street signs were hard to read, and